got a relatively easy tutorial for you all today, and it is how to set up Atari 2600 emulation within Retroarch. So let's dive in. The first thing you're going to need is Retroarch if you don't already have it. Head on over to retroarch.com, click on the download tab, then scroll all the way near to the bottom here and click on Nightly Builds. Now this tutorial is for Windows, that is what I will cover mainly. You could try to follow along with other builds. I don't know if the core is available, and I don't know what really will be different from the core if it is available on other platforms. This is pretty much a download and play type of core, so if it's available, you should be good to go to follow these steps. But anyway, Windows, x86-64, scroll all the way down to the bottom and download Retroarch. Now, if for whatever reason you extract this, try to run it, and it doesn't work, go on up to this redistributable.7 zip, download that, extract it, run it, you should be good to go. Once Retroarch is downloaded, go ahead and get it extracted. And make sure you place it where you want it to be. If you end up moving Retroarch after you run it for the first time, it will not work. All of its system directories get defaulted into itself upon first run. So just as a quick example here, we're going to open up Retroarch. All the directories default. I move it, it won't work. So what we're going to have to do is delete the retroarch.config. Now you can start over from scratch if you happen to move it, but just save yourself the headache, do it the first time. Alright, let's open up Retroarch. Now you can press F on your keyboard to go to full screen mode. From here we're going to go to the Online Updater, Core Updater, and we're going to scroll down to Atari 2600 Stella. It's right here at the top, nice and easy. Now that that's downloaded, go ahead and press backspace twice, and you can start loading up your content. So here we are, Asteroids. Now controls for the Atari are interesting because there were actual mechanical switches on the console that would let you change settings, like you could change difficulty, the type of game that you were playing from the Atari 2600 cartridge, and those do get emulated through Stella, but you do need to set them up on your controller. So by default, to start up a game, you just press the start button on your controller. If you press select, you can change the level that you're on. And if you press the home button on your controller or the F1 key on your keyboard, you can go into the quick menu and you could go down to the controls option and you can go to port 1 controls and you could see what the other controls are configured to. And that pretty much does it as far as playing Atari 2600 games is concerned. It's, again, very straightforward core. Download it, run your content. But now let's go over some of the advanced core options. Since this is going to be a really short video, we'll just go ahead and cover those now. If you go back into your quick menu using the F1 key or the guide button on your controller, you could scroll down to Options. And there are a number of different configurable options. So first up is the console display type. You could set this to the different broadcast standards from around the world. Then there's the color palette. First up is standard, which is this. Then you can also change it to the Z26, which changes it up a little bit, makes it a little more faded in my eye. And then if you want to put your own in, you can put your own into the system folder. And then there is a built-in CRT filter. You can make this look like composite video, S-video, or RGB. And then there's one called badly adjusted, which just kind of... this is what Atari looks like to me, so I kind of like this badly adjusted one. Like, this is seriously what it looks like when I play Atari. So go ahead and scroll through these and see which one you think is best, or leave it off if you like just the standard emulated look. You could then adjust the NTSC and PAL aspect ratio percentages if you want. And then if you have a game that has some junk data in the overscan area, you could turn that on or off. You can enable stereo sound or leave it on mono. Now, phosphor mode's pretty cool. It adds a bit of motion blur to the objects that are on the screen. This just helps simulate some of those old CRT effects, because when you played Atari games on an old CRT, you had quite a bit of ghosting. So you can turn this on or off. By default, it is on auto, which usually is on. So as you can see, the asteroids going by, they have a little bit of ghosting on them. If we turn that off, the ghosting goes away. I like to have it on. Like, it's nostalgic to have it on. Then you can also change how much that blurring is, and this is hilarious. Watch what happens when you turn it up to 100. You don't want to play like that. I tend to like having a little bit stronger ghosting for Atari games, so I leave mine at like 60, 65 typically. And then you can also change the joypad sensitivity. And that pretty much covers it as far as core options are concerned. So now let's go over how to set up a playlist for your Atari 2600 games. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this real quick. From the main menu of Retroarch, go down to Show Desktop menu. That'll bring up the desktop menu for Retroarch. I love this menu. Now over in this left-hand side, we're going to right-click, New Playlist. We're going to type in Atari, space 2600. That gives us a nice Atari playlist entry, complete with a wood grain Atari. Love it. Anyway, click on that, right-click over here, Add Folder, and scroll to where you have your Atari games stored on your computer. For me, I have them on the desktop for demonstration purposes. Select the folder, Core, Stella, Database, Atari 2600. Okay. And then it'll bring up every Atari game that you have within your folder. Now, if you'd like to further pretty up this playlist, go ahead and right-click on the playlist entry, download thumbnails, this playlist. Now, your games do need to be named a specific way for the automatic downloader to find any pictures for it. Unfortunately, mine are not named correctly at all. So what I like to do in that case is head over to GameFAQs and search for the game I want the cover art for. And they usually have a nice media section here where you can get images. And then they have user uploaded box arts for that game. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that to my desktop. And now I'm going to select Pac-Man, and I'm going to drag the box art over here. And now anytime I select it, there will be the box art. And then you're just going to go ahead and repeat that process for any of the games you want cover arts for. If you don't want cover arts, you don't have to do this. It's perfectly fine. Now, to get this playlist to show up within Retroarch, we're just going to close it down and start it back up. Now, over on the left-hand side of the screen, we have a nice 2600 playlist entry, complete with Atari joystick. And then we have all of our Atari games, and when we scroll to Pac-Man, the box art shows up over on the right. Very nice. And then to start a game, you just select it from the playlist and click Run. But that's going to do it as far as Atari 2600 emulation is concerned. Very simple core to set up. Just download it and run your games. You're good to go. If you have any questions, be sure to ask them in the comment section below. I will do my best to try to help you out. But this is a pretty straightforward one, so I don't expect many of you to have too much trouble here. But as always, thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I can't express enough gratitude for everyone who watches any of the videos on my channel. It really helps me out, helps the channel grow, helps keep this going. So thank you all so very much. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that sub button, that dislike button, just depending how much you like today's tutorial. And if you'd like to further help support the channel, be sure to check out that Patreon link in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, or that join button here on YouTube. As always, I am just grateful for your consideration, and for everyone who has already done so, thank you so much for your insane generosity. You really help keep this channel going, and I can never express enough gratitude to each and every one of you, so thank you so very much. But that's gonna do it for today, so until next time, stay awesome, and we will see you all back next video.